Hey everyone, I'm Toasted, and welcome to another deep dive into gaming's weird, wonderful, and occasionally awful history. If you're new here, I've already ranked every single game made on the Quake engine, the Gold Source engine, and more. You can find all of those in a beautiful playlist on my channel. So if this video makes you feel something, either rage, nostalgia, horniness, I don't judge, check that out next. Today we're starting a brand new series where I'll be ranking every single Source engine game. That's right, from Valve masterpieces to indie fever dreams to why does this even exist dumpster fires. We're doing it all. And since there are 79 games, we're splitting this into 4 parts to avoid turning the video into a feature-length hostage situation. Now, a little about Source Engine before we start dunking on things. Source was Valve's shiny new toy in 2004. A super flexible, moddable, physics-powered engine that gave us Half-Life 2, Portal, Counter-Strike Source, and enough memes to carry the internet for a decade. But over the years, Source also became a weird hotel for every kind of FPS. Horror zombie, zombie shooter, sword fighting sim, meme mod turned standalone, and whatever the hell Revelations 2012 was. As for the ranking itself, here's how I approached it. I mostly based the rankings on my personal experience, what I played, what I survived, and what scarred me for life. But I also factored in a bit of community feedback, user reviews and critic reception when it existed, which was rare for some of these mutants. Basically, if your favorite game ended at the bottom, just assume I had a traumatic childhood experience playing it. And just a heads up, I'm not pulling punches. If a game sucks, I'll say it sucks. This is not that every game is special in its own way nonsense. Some of these games deserve nothing but public shame and quiet removal from Steam. But if you want to support videos like this and help me suffer through more of these ranking lists, consider joining the channel. Members get early access to all my videos a full week early, priority for their video suggestions, and their names added to the credits as official enablers of this madness. Alright, let's kick off part 1 of the Source Engine rankings with the bottom of the barrel. Games ranked from 79th to 61st. Some of these are funny bad, some are painful, some made me question my life choices, and some, well, you'll see. So, I thought that maybe I shouldn't have even ranked this one. Thing is, I couldn't even play it. There's not a single picture of this game online, and there's only this one video that I put somewhere in the corner that is at like 240p and with terrible frame rate. And I found like few sentences written about the game. So I tried the game myself, that's the footage you're seeing, but you're not seeing anything, because I couldn't play it. It doesn't have single player, it doesn't have bots, I had nobody to play with, so this is as far as I got, to a screen that says waiting for more players to join. What I learned from those few sentences is that it's not a normal Source game. You know, it's soccer, but it also has melee combat, wall walking, and the kind of physics that make FIFA look like Elden Ring. So yeah, I have nothing to say, nobody has anything to say. If you ever play this, tell me more about it in the comments below. But since there's no info and I couldn't try it, last place it is. Have you ever wanted to play as lion? Or maybe a shark? Or maybe a cheetah chasing a gazelle in glorious, barely functioning Source Engine junk? No? Well, too bad, because iPredator exists, and it throws you into a free-roaming wildlife bloodbath. This was a Kuma Games project tied to an Animal Planet show, because clearly nothing says educational nature documentary like press E to maul. The concept is kinda cool. Predator versus prey, survival of the fittest, 3 full episodes. But the execution? Oh boy. Imagine controlling a predator with the grace of a shopping cart full of wet sand. And the animations? You'll see more realistic movement from taxidermy. It's janky, ugly, borderline unplayable. But it's also so stupid. that it loops back around to being entertaining. So, congrats iPredator, you're the worst source engine game I could find. If you ever thought, I want to relive the horrors of World War II, but with all the excitement and polish of a broken Garry's mod map. World War II Experience was a Kuma Reality Games release that recreated famous battles that involved tanks. It's supposed to be educational, like Call of Duty History Channel edition, but it ends up feeling more like a failed high school project. It just looks boring. Why play this if you can play World of Tanks? And level design looks like it was slapped together and hammered during a power outage. It's not fun, it's not informative, and it's not even so bad it's good. It's just bad, and that's kind of its only achievement. Imagine a multiplayer source shooter where America is occupied by Nazis, and the revolution looks like a cross between Call of Duty and a busted football match. That's National Bloodsport, a repackaged version of Revolt with Decimation. Slap with a new name and thrown into Kuma's catalog of games that technically exist. There's no single player here, it's entirely multiplayer, and good luck finding anyone playing it, unless you host a LAN party in a time machine. It wanted to be gritty, competitive, and immersive, but it's mostly just boring maps, clunky gunplay, and the haunting silence of empty servers. And yes, every map's name starts with BS, which is the most honest branding in this video. Oh yes, Revelations 2012, the unholy child of Left 4 Dead and a History Channel conspiracy theory. This game asks, what if 4 Mayan warriors with laser guns fought waves of undead in the jungle to prevent the apocalypse? The answer? Who cares? The combat is floaty, the AI doesn't work, the levels are giant empty parking lots pretending to be temples, and the entire thing feels like it was built in a weekend jam session, filled by alcohol and ancient aliens DVDs. Every time I played it, I felt like I was in a student project that someone accidentally uploaded to Steam. It's so hilariously bad that it's almost endearing, but only almost. 2012 didn't end the world, but this game tried. Here's one of Kuma's most ambitious messes. A fusion game that said, let's take 2 wars and mash them together in one episodic FPS that educates, entertains, and mostly crashes. World War II Vietnam is based on Shootout from History Channel, so technically it's edutainment, which is code for you're not allowed to be mad at how bad it is, but I'm mad anyway. It flips between World War II and Vietnam missions, but both feel like they were made in a source engine tutorial with half the assets missing. The AI is incompetent, the guns feel like plastic toys, and the level design is the military equivalent of guess where to go. It's not the worst thing Kuma ever made, but that's like saying one of the punches hurt slightly less. Dogfights is what happens when someone says, let's recreate World War II air battles in the source engine, and no one in the room says, wait, why? Based on the History Channel show, this game is 100% multiplayer, and trying to do dogfighting in source is like trying to do a backflip in a phone booth. The controls feel like you're flying a sofa, the physics cry out for help, and unless you bring your own friends, you'll be battling ghosts on an empty map. It's an impressive concept with zero execution. If Microsoft Flight Simulator is a jet, Dogfights is a lawn chair with fireworks taped to it. Alright, picture this. You're in a bank heist shootout, facing off against gangsters in a gritty cops vs robbers multiplayer showdown. Except everything's laggy, no one's online, and the only real crime is how boring it is. Mobsters is a Kuma-made multiplayer-only FPS based on a biography channel TV show. It's trying to be Payday or SWAT 4, but it ends up feeling like a source mod someone forgot to finish. You've got regenerating health, sluggish animations, AI that sometimes just don't move at all. Oh, wait, never mind, that's just the empty lobby. If you manage to get people playing, there's maybe 15 minutes of novelty here, After that, you'll want witness protection from the memory of this game. You'd think Half-Life plus Deathmatch plus Source would be a winning combo. It's literally just 3 words that scream fun. But somehow, Valve managed to release a version of Half-Life 1 Deathmatch that feels like it was assembled on a Friday afternoon, right before a company party. It's the same weapons, same maps, but with the new physics slapped on top like a duct tape on a leaky pipe. Grenades roll like bowling balls, ragdolls fly like they've seen God, and movement feels like your ice skating on disappointment. There's no new content. At the time when I was trying it, there was one server with few people, and that's it. No reason to exist, other than for Valve to say, hey, look, we used Source again. It's not broken, but it sure as hell feels lifeless. Cyberdiver is like Half-Life 2 Survivor's weirder, arcadier Japanese cousin. And I mean that in the most neon-drenched, baffling way possible. This was a Japan-only arcade FPS, where teams of anime-adjacent characters battled in VR arenas using class-based loadouts, explosive battles, and sci-fi powers. It had 6 character classes, like Psychiker and Dummy, because every team needs a designated insult. And while it actually had some cool mechanics, including ranked matches and card-based stat tracking, it was locked to arcades and never made it outside Japan. So, unless you time travel to a Tokyo Sega Center in 2010, you probably never touched it. Concept? Cool. But execution? It's unavailable. Accessibility? Literally zero. A full-on Source relic buried in a region-locked hell. Oh boy, you knew it was coming. The most infamous, we swear it's canon, fan game in Source engine history. Hunt Down with Freeman is so spectacularly bad, it's almost a performance piece. Everything in this game is broken. The voice acting is an HR violation, the cutscenes look like someone's first Source filmmaker attempt after 4 beers, and the story? Whew boy. It tries to retcon the Half-Life timeline by adding edgy military guys, skateboarding through war zones, and having Freeman kill people for fun. It's a fanfic in FPS form, but one where the author got kicked out of a Gmod server for cringe. It's glitchy, it's barely playable, and yet, it's kind of legendary for how hard it faceplants. A disaster worth watching, preferably from a safe distance. Hybrid was a third-person multiplayer shooter with cover-based mechanics that was released on Source Engine and immediately forgotten by the universe. The pitch was actually interesting. Jetpack movement, cover locking, vertical gunfights. It sounds like Titanfall's weird uncle who lives in a basement. But the controls were awkward, the gunplay was stiff, and movement felt more like you were glitching through geometry than flying through the air. Worst of all, the servers died so fast, you'd think the devs unplugged them themselves. Nobody talks about this game. Nobody plays this game. It's like the SCP of Source shooters. It existed once, and we all agreed to pretend it didn't. I love Postal 2. It's juvenile, offensive, ridiculous, and it knew exactly what it was. Postal 3, on the other hand, is like watching a drunk guy try to retell Postal 2 while falling down a flight of stairs. This game was developed in Russia, shipped with busted AI, broken missions, and more bugs than an abandoned Fallout shelter. It somehow manages to be less edgy and more boring, which is impressive given its desperate attempts to be controversial. The shooting is awful, the driving feels like you're staring at a wet fridge, and the writing tries so hard to offend that it ends up just feeling sad. Even the original devs disowned this thing. Postal 3 isn't just bad, it's a cautionary tale. The Forgotten Ones is a Holocaust revenge horror shooter with time-traveling flashbacks, Nazi ghosts, and the kind of dialogue that makes you wish for subtitles that say cringe. On paper, it's kind of bold, blending historical themes with horror and action, but in practice, it's a hot mess of broken AI, weird cutscenes, and pacing that swings from walking sim to doom speedrun without warning. It tries to be atmospheric, but it ends up feeling like you accidentally booted into a cursed Garry's Mod campaign. Credit for ambition, but it bites off way more than it can chew, and ends up spitting most of it back out at you in janky German. Sting is a Korean online FPS that takes the Counter-Strike formula, mixes it with free-to-play grind, and adds some light RPG elements that feel like they came from a gacha machine. It actually had a solid player base in Asia, for a while at least, but under the hood, it was just generic PvP shooting with some class perks and a ton of item farming. The gameplay is serviceable, but super stiff. The visuals are plain, and the whole thing feels like a direct-to-DVD CS clone. And the English release barely existed. It's not offensive or broken, it's just painfully meh, and it never made a splash outside its home turf. Here we are, Kuma's flagship war sim, and by sim, I mean free-to-play shooter that felt like America's army with concussion. Kuma War II is all about recreating real-world military missions, often based on headlines pulled straight from Fox News and Google alerts. You get episodic missions, basic squad tactics, and guns that feel like Nerf rifles in a vacuum. To its credit, it was ambitious for a freebie. You could download real missions shortly after they hit the news, like Kill Bin Laden levels, that dropped within weeks of the real thing. But the gameplay? Sluggish, janky, and about as immersive as a PowerPoint with a crosshair. It's like military cosplay for boomers, more interesting to read about than to play. It Reborn is a remake of an old East Asian shooter that somehow feels both nostalgic and completely busted. Gunplay swings between kinda fun and what the hell just happened. And unless you live in Hong Kong, good luck finding a server with decent ping, or any players at all. The movement's slow, the menus are weird, and the balance is out of whack. But for a few folks, it brings back fond memories. It's not good, but it's not a disaster either. Just a half-dead game clinging to life with pure nostalgia. Prospekt was hyped as the spiritual sequel to Opposing Force, the long-awaited return of Adrian Shepard. What we got? A mod-turned Steam release that felt like someone built it entirely out of Half-Life 2 leftovers and wishful thinking. It plays fine, technically. The guns work, the doors open, the enemies die, but everything feels like a low-effort remix of better games. The level design is claustrophobic, in the bad way, the pacing is weird, and the story is about as engaging as a shopping list. To its credit, it's a finished playable game, but it doesn't add anything meaningful to Half-Life universe. It's the kind of sequel where you finish it and immediately forget it ever happened. What happens when you mix a budget shooter with dinosaurs, corporate sponsorship, and Kuma games being weird again? You get Dinohunters, brought to you by Chic Razors. Yes, this is a real game where you blast dinos in episodic missions while getting stealth advertised shaving tips. The voice acting is goofy, the levels are basic, and the gameplay is dumb fun. But hey, at least it's actually fun in a Saturday morning cartoon kind of way. It's like the X-Cop of source shooters. Barely makes sense, totally ridiculous, but somehow endearing. You won't remember the plot or any of its characters, you won't remember the guns, but you will remember the feeling of blowing up a raptor while thinking, should I be exfoliating? And that's it. The bottom 19 Source Engine games have officially been dragged into the light, judged, mocked, and left to rot exactly where they belong. Whether it was sponsored dinosaur shooters, forgotten History Channel tie-ins, or whatever the hell iPredator was, we've made it through the worst of the worst. But don't worry, part 2 is coming soon, where we'll climb a little higher into games that are still janky, but maybe, just maybe kind of enjoyable. Think of it as moving from dumpster fire to smoldering garbage can with a few gold nuggets inside. If you enjoyed this video, or at least didn't hate yourself the whole way through, drop a like, leave a comment with what you would have ranked differently, and subscribe so you don't miss the next parts. And if you got a video idea, a ranking you want to see next, a weird forgotten engine you want me to suffer through, leave your suggestions below. I read all of them, even the cursed ones, especially the cursed ones. And if you want to go the extra mile, join the channel. Members get videos a week early, priority suggestions, and your name in the credits so everyone knows you helped fuel this chaotic masterpiece. Thanks for watching. I've been Toasted, and this was Toasted Gaming. I'll see you soon in part 2 of the Source Engine game ranking. Spoiler alert. Some of the games in the next batch are actually kinda decent. I know, I'm scared too.